Hey everyone, it's Harry. I'm at Baltimore Comic Con. See the costume. Costume's not important. What's important is one of the creators is here with us, Mr. Tony Isabella. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Harry, and I love your costume.
And it's got to be some kind of serendipity there that, you know, Black Lightning has become popular now. The show is doing well, and people are rediscovering the character. And if you can give people a little bit of background on how you came up with Black Lightning.
Well, my first black friends were actually comic book fans. I lived in Cleveland, which was really a segregated city. I had my comic book club on the west side of Cleveland. They lived on the east side of Cleveland. They made what was a long trip to come to our comic book club meetings, and it just struck me as really unfair that there weren't more characters for my friends. So I told myself if I ever got into comics, I would try to come up, work on characters of color and create some new ones. At Marvel, I worked on things like Luke Cage and the Falcon. I created Misty Knight. I created Black Goliath. But it wasn't until I got to DC and created Black Lightning that I really had my African-American superhero. He was a man of faith who would rather just be a teacher, but accepted the responsibilities that came with his powers. He was a teacher. Every kid knows what a teacher is, and if they're lucky, they had a great teacher like Jefferson Pierce. And that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a very positive character who everybody could identify with, and he was not an overnight success, but now we're here 40 years later. He's a hit TV show, and over the years I've met so many people that this character is so important to, and you have to put your ego aside. Yes, I created him, but so many people are invested in this character that I feel like I'm not just a creator, I'm the caretaker. I have to make sure people do right by Black Lightning and Jefferson Pierce. And that's basically the story of my career with the character. I always wanted to be portrayed in a respectful manner as the iconic character he's become.
How do you feel now, with the television show? How have they treated you in deference to asking about ideas and things?
Oh, the television show has been great. I have no official role with the show, but before anyone was hired to do the show, DC Comics had me write a core values paper for Black Lightning and Jefferson Pierce, which basically is the starting point for the TV show. When Salim and Mara Bracakil, who are brilliant, were hired to run the show, we had hours of phone conferences where they asked me questions about stuff I wrote 40 years earlier. Salim flew me to Burbank to spend a day with the writers of the show. I have corresponded with most of the cast and still keep in touch with most of the cast, and then I met them all at the premiere, and they're great people. I have so much love and respect for what they do. They return that back to me. I couldn't be more excited. Every Tuesday we watch the show. We pause when my credit comes on, and then we continue watching.
That's a good thing. And, I just want to thank you, because of the show. That's why I'm here now. I got really excited when I saw the show. I said, you know what? I've never really seen anybody do this costume. So, thanks to you, I was inspired to do this.
I'm so glad. Everybody who works on a TV show is so dedicated to the characters, to telling these stories. There's a lot of me in the show. There's a lot of great stuff they brought to the show. People don't always believe me when I say this, but I like their Tobias Whale better than any version of Tobias Whale I've written. Croydon is an amazing actor.
He's a really nice guy.
And he calls me Maestro, so, really, how can I not love the guy? He was actually upset because in my most recent Black Lightning series, Tobias Whale is not an albino. And I did that because it seemed like every albino in comics was a villain. And I wanted to break that. Croydon was disappointed, so I promised him that I will create an albino superhero at the first opportunity I have.
So So, last question: is there anything you're working on now, or anything you got in the works that you're doing?
You know, I'm writing a book called Black Lightning and My Road to Diversity, which is going to be a kind of mini history of some of the black comics creators that were around in the 1930s and 40s that nobody really has written about. It's going to talk about how I got into writing characters of color, my experiences working with these characters and creating Black Lightning, and then looking at today's world where you have these important issues that we can address through comics and this wonderful diversity where we're seeing all kinds of new characters, hearing from all sorts of new voices. I mean, I love comic books more now than I ever have in my life, and it's because of the diversity and inclusion. You know, I feel like the comic book world has gotten so much bigger in such a wonderful way. So that's the next project on my desk. But I am developing new comic book series. I'm discussing stuff with both Marvel and DC. I have a guy in my hometown of Cleveland who's trying to get funding to do a horror movie that I've created. So yeah, I'm going to be doing all sorts of stuff. I did a nightclub act. I performed with some people, like 13 pages of a Black Lightning story, and the audience loved it. Now, it was a nightclub, there was alcohol, so that probably helped. But it's the type of thing I'm going to be doing more of. My motto, stolen from Luke Cage, is always forward. I'm 67 years old, I'm never looking backwards. I'm always going to be looking for the next exciting thing to do.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate being able to bring one of your characters to life.
I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you. For Pop Culture Uncovered, we're out.